Hello, everyone. We're doing something a little different today, and we're going to do some origin stories. And today's episode is going to be the origin story of Tom O'Gorman. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Alessandrini. I'm joined by my guest today, the Tom O'Gorman. Tom, welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. It's great to have you.
Oh, thanks. I was wondering this thing. So we were talking right before the podcast. We have a Thomas, we have a Tomas, we have a Tom. I'm Tom. We have a lot of Tommy going action going on. And I went to grade school with
Yeah.
a Thomas, a Tommy, and I feel like I default became Tom.
And you've been
And I
Tom.
wonder what I would be if I didn't go to school with a Thomas and a Tommy. Do you think I would be Tommy O'Gorman?
Ooh,
I could be Thomas O'Gorman.
no, Tommy O'Gorman kind of sounds good though.
Tommy O'Gorman.
Tommy O'Gorman.
That just feels like my Irish name.
Yeah, no, that sounds like what it should be. That's like my name should be Giovanni, but for some reason it's not. So here we are.
It should totally be Giovanni.
It should be. It was going to be Giovanni, and then I got bored, and now all of a sudden I'm David Jr.
You could be DiGiovanni, and it could be DJ, but spelled crazy. And then it was like a lowercase d apostrophe Giovanni.
Can you roll an R somewhere in there too?
Well, there's no D or there's no R in D or Giovanni, so no. But I can do Alessandrini.
Yeah, you could. I was hoping you were
I'm
going
not
to
very
try
good
to
at
roll
that.
an R in DJ and then just like get halfway through that 2-letter name and realize that it's impossible. That's what I was hoping would happen. So, anyways, this is not normally how we treat a guest on the podcast as we're role playing here. But our guest today is the Tom O'Gorman. Tom, I should have put a little bit more prep into this and like figured out how many national championships and Pirelli World Championships and IMSA fast laps and all the things and like.
Who cares? You know what? You can find that on Wikipedia thanks to Richard Sawicki,
Oh,
friend of the
thanks.
podcast, friend of ours. He built me a Wikipedia page. You can find it all there.
Yeah, so go check out Tom's Wikipedia page. We realized that there's a lot of people who listen to the podcast that maybe listen to us and they don't actually know anything about our past and history and how we got into racing or competition itself or like where did the lizard start. So that's kind of what we're doing for this episode and then next episode. So this one is Tom's, and we're gonna kind of dig into Tom's origin story here. So Tom, when were you born?
Hello, my name is Tom O'Gorman. I'm a professional race car driver, and I was born in 1991.
90s baby. That checks out a lot. Were you a Sega kid or Nintendo?
Ooh, great question. I was a Sony kid,
Ooh, Sony. Dang.
PlayStation kid. But honestly, I was kind of a computer kid.
Okay.
I was a Microsoft DOS kid. How about that? MS DOS. That's what I am.
Were you playing like text adventure video games?
I was playing Commander Keen. I was playing Papyrus NASCAR Racing. I was playing IndyCar Racing. I was playing, what else? I don't know.
My next door neighbor Mikey had NASCAR racing on his computer with like a little Microsoft wheel, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And at some point, Mikey realized that I was just using him for his NASCAR computer.
You had to, I think, as a kid. Like that was part of the features of your kids. As a kid, I had only Nintendo friends because I was a PlayStation kid.
Yeah.
So the kids that I was friends with were access points to other video game systems.
Okay, hold on.
That sounds horrible, but it's kind of true a little bit.
What Nintendo games created false friendships?
Oh, for sure. Mario Kart 64, obviously. Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Okay.
Big one. Big one. GoldenEye. A little bit. 007 GoldenEye.
Yeah.
I feel like those were the big three.
Those kind of are, yeah.
I remember going to my friend's house, watching them play Pikmin and not really understanding it.
That was GameCube.
That was one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I kind of think you would like Pikmin, to be honest.
maybe I don't really know the premise.
like as an
I
adult.
remember
It's like
being a little too young to understand it.
it's like people that have played Pikmin are gonna be like, "What? That's nothing like it." But guys, you have to understand where Tom's coming from. This is gonna explain the game to him. Okay, it's like kind of like a farming slash puzzle game. That makes sense. So like you have to like harvest like the little all the little dudes that were like following that guy with the space helmet. You like grow them, and then the longer they survive, like the stronger they get. So like you kind of have to like take care of them, but like basically you have to go around like the garden and like pick up objects, and you need like a certain amount of Pikmin to do it. So you have to like take care of them and like harvest them, and there's
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you have to like strategically like kill some off to so the greater good of all the Pikmin like survive. So
We're like Thanos. We don't even know it. We're playing these little video games when we're kids,
yeah, a little
strategically
bit.
killing off our troops.
I
Good Lord.
mean, sometimes the like the monster people are chasing you. You got to sacrifice a couple Pikmin because it'll slow them down. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
They knew what was coming. So all right, well, okay. So you're a Sony kid. So I think that kind of leads into like when did Tom find out that like were you a car guy first, or was it like racing games like made you think you were a car guy? Are you a car guy? Like where's Tom's origin for like just the affinity towards motorsports at all?
Mid Ohio sports car course as a spectator. So I grew up going there with my dad when I was old enough. I was like 2 years old, I think, when he started taking me.
Okay.
And he had been going since the late 80s as a spectator to Mid Ohio and just watching racing. IndyCar SCCA runoff started there in like 1991, I think. 1994 is the first year they went there. So yeah, we would go to the spectator races at Mid Ohio, whatever it was. And it was our like 6 times a year thing. And I just became completely obsessed. And I didn't ever process that there were cars in people in the cars. There were like it was just the cars going around the racetrack
Yep.
as far as I was concerned. And of course, the crashing was the coolest part. I was one of those kids.
Yes.
That's where it started.
I think that's where all kids start. Yeah. That's why you
Yeah,
watch NASCARs, because there's always going to be a crash and you're just waiting the whole time. I remember when I was a kid, I watched a NASCAR race and there wasn't a crash, and I was upset. As like a small child is, where like you're
Yeah.
upset and you don't know how to express it. Yeah, I was like actually upset that there was no crash during the race.
It's like watching a cliffhanger episode or something.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, yeah. um, so you like before you were even forming memories, you were at the racetrack. So some of your earliest memories is sitting on a hill watching cars go through like madness at Mid Ohio.
Yep. We had a certain light pole slash power pole announcer pole. I don't know. It had an announced speaker on it, and it was like a power pole that we would sit by in the S's.
Yep.
And that was our spot.
That was your spot. That's kind of near the.
I didn't even know what 3/4 of Mid Ohio looked like until I was like driving age. We would just go to that spot and watch. That was the only spot of Mid Ohio I knew.
Oh, that's such a wild experience as because I never had that experience. So like that's such a wild experience as a as like your origin into racing, like seeing it happen. What like okay, so you go from watching it, being a spectator. When did you
Mhm.
realize that there were people in the cars?
I mean, I inherently knew, innately knew, whatever the word is. When did I really start to process? Honestly, I think the first time that I really genuinely processed that there was like
A human
people
aspect?
doing motorsports that I could also do
Yeah.
was this is such a crazy stretch, but I genuinely think it might have been NASA Nationals at Mid Ohio 2007.
Oh,
After I
okay.
was allowed to drive, after I had been autocrossing, and I went to a national championship club race, knowing what club racing was,
Yeah.
and watched a bunch of club racing, and like really fully processed, like I could buy like a 1988 Honda Accord and go racing if I wanted to.
Yeah. If you
That
wanted
was maybe
to.
the first time ever that I would remember watching at Mid Ohio being like, I can do this, or I could do that, or that's like attainable. So there's
Yeah.
like 15 years of watching before it really kind of clicked that there were like people involved. Even watching all the runoffs for 10 years.
I
From 1993 to what, 2004, 5, I think is the last year they raced there.
yeah.
It never clicked. that that was like club racing.
You
That was like the big race of the year in my mind.
Right. Like, I mean, that makes sense though, because like anytime you tell somebody that you race cars that's like outside of racing, they'll go like, "Oh, what do you do? Like NASCAR?" Like, because that, to them, like that's the only kind of racing that like exists, right? Like the fact that really anybody can go like compete in a car, or drive around a racetrack, really, like that's kind of it's kind of a secret to society. Like not like the percentage of people that know you can do that is actually quite small.
Yeah, and that's how I grew up. Like I didn't realize that that was what we were watching. I remember just loving being there. I was so scared of the loud noises. I remember making my dad hold his hands over my hands.
Yeah.
No, I would hold my hands over his hands to force him to like hold my ears because I was so scared of how loud it was.
Yeah.
But I still like had to watch. I had to watch. I had to like see what was going on. And I always picked my favorite car in the race based on either the livery or the color or the style of the car. And my favorites were always the wheel on the wheel cars,
The
which
what?
meant like on the vintage weekend had the wheel on the wheel cars the most. So it had like a wheel, a spare tire on the fender of the car right above the wheel. So it had like a wheel on the wheel.
What is that a thing? Did you just make that up, or is that actually what it's called?
I made that up. Like as a little
Oh,
kid, that's what we called it.
oh,
It
the
was
wheel on
like
the wheel.
Morgans and like old cars.
I think we shared the same favorite NASCAR driver growing up, just purely based off the livery, right?
Jeff Gordon
Yeah, because it was the best livery.
was the best.
It was literally the best. Like nobody else was even close. Like you had like who was the guy in the brown car? It was like 88. The Elliott?
Dale Jarrett.
Del Jarrett. There you are. Yep. Yeah. That was like such a boring livery. I was like rooting against that guy because his livery sucked so hard.
Bobby Labonte, Terry Labonte.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like cornflakes.
So okay.
I want to eat rainbows.
All right. So Tom O'Gorman, small child race fan. So now you have an
Yeah.
affinity toward racing, right? So how does that turn into like some participation or something? Like where does that, like as a child, you know you like racing, you're watching it on TV, you got like you're rooting for Jeff Gordon, you're watching the SCCA runoffs and thinking that it's like the world championship of all of racing. Uh
Kinda, yeah.
yeah, but like I mean that's how it's presented and it's great. It's a great presentation of it. So where does like where does Tom start to figure out that this driving stuff is pretty fun too, instead of just the watching stuff?
So Mid Ohio was like my dad and his brother thing, and his oldest brother, and his oldest brother had a kid who also was super into racing. He's like 10 years older than I am, and then it kind of became like the four of us were like the core. We would go to Mid Ohio and watch the races together. They were from Cleveland and we were from Cincinnati, so we would drive and meet together at the track and watch all weekend and go home. And that was like my highlight of the year. Like I didn't have the best experience in grade school. I got picked on a lot and I got bullied a lot and whatever. And like I would dream about like going to Mid Ohio as my little escape. So that was
Oh,
my like framing of reference for like that was my freaking thing. I loved it so much. Anyway, so my cousin who's 10 years older than me, his name's Sean, and he started autocrossing. I don't know how he found it, but he started autocrossing and got involved over a couple of years. And at this time, I was maybe like 10, 12, 13, somewhere in there.
okay.
And we kind of knew that Sean was doing some sort of motorsports with his car, and we didn't really understand exactly what it was, but it was a red MR2, like a second generation MR2.
Ooh, it was new back then.
No, this is like 2005.
Yeah, it was new. That was a
Kind
new
of.
car.
Okay, yeah, it was like a relatively
Yeah.
it was the attainable sports car,
Dang,
sure.
hold on. What class was that car? Was it like freaking B Street or something? Like
E-stock.
it was in East Stock this whole time?
Yep. Yep.
I didn't know that. It's literally been in the same class for like 20 years.
Yeah. Yep. Except at the time it was on race tires instead of street
okay.
tires. Anyway, so he was doing autocross and we knew about him doing some sort of grassroots form of driving motorsports, something. And when I was 13 or 14, pretty close to driving age, we finally went to one. We had a family party in Columbus, Ohio, and the Ohio Valley Region SCCA used to autocross in one of the Ohio State University parking lots. And we literally like we took the morning and went to the autocross and rode with him and saw what it was, and then we went back to the family party and had like dinner with the family.
Yeah.
And that was my first time seeing like participant based motorsports, like something I could join. And it was before I could drive, but that was like right around the time that I think my dad bought a Miata pretty close to right after that. And then he found a Miata club in
Mm.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Wait,
And
was
that's when he started getting involved with like grassroots automotive events was
okay.
because of this Miata. So we kind of had like a tandem moment happen where it was like I saw autocross and then we had like a car club thing happening in our family.
Do you think it was also that your dad saw autocross and he's like, I could have
Yes,
fun with a car? Okay, yeah, definitely. All right.
absolutely.
Okay. Did did he go for any rides or anything? Because I feel like watching
Mhm.
autocross is pretty boring, and then you like get in the passenger seat, and then you like understand. You're like, oh, all right, this makes sense, and then
Yep.
you're having a good time. But if you're like people that, oh, I'll go check it out, and then they just watch like a couple times, and then they just like leave, they never got it because like watching it is so like meh. You got to be in the
Yeah.
car. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know that I rode because I would have been
Well,
13 or
yeah,
14
you
years
wouldn't have.
old, and I don't think I could have. But so
Uh,
I watched, but I know my dad and his brother both went and rode
yeah.
with like they rode with their nephew slash son and like experienced the whole thing. So I'm sure that lit something in my dad's brain.
Yeah. So, okay. So 12-year-old Tom knows that autocross exists.
Yep.
Okay. So what happens next?
So, like I mentioned, dad bought a Miata. He was a car guy. I wouldn't say I'm a car guy, but he was a car guy.
Okay.
So he had like Mustangs and muscle cars, and he had an RX-7 once. He had a Supra once. He had a GTO Judge. He had all sorts of random, but like enthusiast style cars.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
bought this Miata, and that probably I guess was the catalyst for him getting involved with the Cincinnati Miata Club, which was like a get together and either like hang out and drink club, at like someone's house, or go on like back roads drives club.
Okay.
So I used to go on these back roads drives with my dad before I could drive, and I'd ride with him, and we would do like spirited back roads drives. But they also did autocross events like a couple times a summer, and they were actually hosted by the Austin Healey and Alfa Romeo Club of Cincinnati,
Mm.
combined hosted. The first 30 people who got to the site, which was a community college, got to enter the event. They did timing with one singular timing beam. So one car went at a time, and they would launch, and then you would go into one parking lot and do a loop, and then you go past the timing beam into another parking lot and do a loop, and then come back out and trip the timing beam, and that was your time. And they would keep track of times on a whiteboard and nailed to a tree, and that was the event. You got 6 runs usually, and that was my first exposure to autocross, was like watching these people, whoever the first 30 people were, showed up to this thing, do autocross, including my dad.
Uh, I've also been to an Alfa Romeo event. I think it was probably like my third or fourth event ever. And
Really?
they also had a whiteboard. This was in Michigan. They also had a they also had a whiteboard. It was not nailed to a tree. They at least had a stand for it. And the course was just like small cones like right next to each other through the whole
Yep.
thing. And it was just first gear the whole course. And you know what? It was like my third or fourth event. Oh my god, that was the most fun I've ever had.
Sure. Yeah, this was the exact same. It was just
Yeah.
just little road, like a gates of cones
Yep.
leading you around in a little lane.
Yep.
It was faster than first gear. We did go second gear.
Mm.
Uh
High
but
quality Alfa Romeo
yeah.
event.
Yeah. But it was like the hardcore people from the Miata Club went to the autocross.
Okay. Dang.
For the most part, they just wanted to hang out. And then there was like a smaller group that did the spirited drives, and then there was like the hardcore people who went to the autocross, like 5 of them.
Okay, so wait. To the Alfa Romero autocross event.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so where was like the SCCA events like in this time period?
So I was 14 the first year that he did some events. I was 15 the second year, and I had my license driving permit.
Yeah.
15-year-old driving permit, and I got to do some events with the Alpha Austin Healey Club. And then that group, someone in that group introduced us to a different autocross group, which I learned in hindsight was a NASA autocross group, and they autocrossed
Interesting.
in the Dayton, Ohio Nutter Center parking lot.
Okay.
And we started doing events there, and we did maybe 3, 4, 5 events there, and we would co-drive together, and it was like NASA. It's basically NASA TT classing,
Yeah.
but for autocross. And they would also use SCCA classing just as like a boost. Like if you don't know your NASA class, just run SCCA class.
Yeah.
Anyway, so literally in my entire first year of autocross was only this Alfa Romeo, Austin Healey, and then NASA autocrosses. And right at the very end of my maybe second year seeing autocross, first year driving, we went to an SCCA event. And that was the first time that I saw like an SCCA autocross
Where
with
was
like
that?
built competitive cars. That
So
was in
so this is all
Cincinnati, Ohio
yeah.
at River Downs. Sorry, it's a River Downs racetrack for horses. And
Okay.
we would do it in the parking lot.
Okay. Was it like, if you had to, like, thinking back, like here, two questions.
Yeah.
From all the autocross experience you've had so far in that first year, how did that site compare, like, with that context? And then how does it compare with, like, now, like, you've seen it all context?
Okay. So the first site I described was one single timing light, two parking lots linked together, and we would like do one car at a time. The Dayton, or the NASA group in Dayton, they did like proper event with like timing and scoring, and they had an announcer, like what you would see as a local autocross.
Yeah.
But we still had to like thread the needle between some islands to like connect two parking lots together.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I don't think any autocross region does that anymore. I don't know. Maybe they do. Sure, if you have one like that. The SCCA one was like a full on proper parking lot. It was long and narrow. It would literally be like you just go out and turn around and come back and go around and come back and turn around and come back, and it would be like links of Chicago boxes together. It was very, very
Locally.
for the time, like locally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So in hindsight, it was extremely local, and at the time as well, there were maybe 2 or 3 people from the area going to national events.
Okay.
Like there was not a national club, a national contingent in that group.
Gotcha.
But my first event, actually, or the first exposure to it, we were just getting into it serious enough to order our own numbers. So we ordered our numbers for the side of my dad's Miata with the class numbers on a magnet and the car number on a magnet and a separate one so we could have it on. Like we were learning the rules.
Yeah, it's getting serious.
And we get there the first time and we'd read the rule book, 8-inch numbers, 4-inch letters for the class. And we get there and this guy started giving us shit at the start line. One of us was going to drive. That our numbers were too small and they were too hard to see.
And you're like, according to the rule book.
Yeah. Literally, we met an
37.
autocross weenie from the autocross club the first time we went to an SCCA event, and it almost made us not go back.
Oh man, dude. Okay, hold on. What happens to Tom O'Gorman? Like, we're gonna get to what happened to Tom O'Gorman after that fact. But what happens if you guys decided, you know what, that guy that gave us grief over the numbers, like, what happens to Tom? Are you like a piano player? Like what?
Yeah, probably. No, I don't know what I would be. I was too young to really. I was mostly just caught off guard by the confrontation.
Yeah.
Because I was just surprised that this guy was so upset about it, and I knew that we had like gone through the steps to read the rule book and order the numbers and all this. So I just remember being caught off guard by it, and I think my dad was more hackles up about it, like, you know, what the hell's this guy? What's this guy's problem?
Yeah.
But it was. I just remember it being a thing at the very first time. We got like confrontation at the start line. Like you can't take a run. The letters are too small.
Oh my God. Get out of here.
And that really honestly, that kind of framed my reference point when I realized what it was, how that happened, how that like, I think that kind of created a reference point for my like customer service mindset at tracks or in motorsports events in general.
Yeah. We've talked about this before on the podcast, but like basically if somebody's ever yelling at an event and somebody's not on fire or about to get hit by a car, what are we doing? Like, why are we yelling?
Yeah.
You see it too many times where somebody's like, and everyone has to look. You're like, what the heck is going on? Like, you just like crane your neck, and it's just like somebody like driving the wrong way in grid, and like somebody's like getting all up in arms about it. It's like, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. So you've went to your first SCCA event. They gave you grief over the numbers. You did the competition. What made you keep going back?
We were just into autocross.
So you were just doing all sorts of different events.
My dad and I started doing it together, and the next season. So this was I finished the year. You know, the autocross season in Ohio is somewhat maybe April to October. My birthday is October 22nd, so late October birthday. I turn 16 and get my driver's license after the autocross season ends. And around that time, I got my driver's license, and my parents bought me a car to drive myself to school, which was a 1997 Honda Civic EX 5-speed,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they bought it for $3,000, and that was my car. So then the next year, this is now 2008, I autocrossed my own car instead of my dad's Miata.
Did he want you to do that?
No, honestly, he didn't tell me that I had to, but
You like wanted to because you liked your car.
I honestly, I think it was more like he was not as into autocross as I was.
Oh, so
So I could go to the events with my own car and do whatever I wanted,
yeah.
or maybe he like didn't want to go or didn't want to go as often, or I didn't want to ask him to go to drive his car. So I just started driving my own car.
Okay, so you're just showing up on your own. Like, what were you doing for tires? Were you just like on all seasons?
Okay, so I started with whatever I had on the car. I
Right.
did 2 events like that, I think, and then so we had started to meet people, and we had started to make friends and stuff in the autocross community around Cincinnati, Ohio, and we met this guy named Kumar Viswalingham. Hi, Kumar, if you listen to this, he's still around, and autocrossing, and he was racing. I thought it was Spec Miata at the time, but he was doing some sort of track driving, and he was also autocrossing Miatas at the time, and the tire that he would use was the Kumo Victo Racer. You ever heard of
Okay.
that tire?
No, never. That's way
Okay, this
before
is
me.
like pre V700.
Okay.
So that the Kumo Victo Racer, he was using those, and I would buy. He and my dad both, me and my dad both, excuse me, would go and buy his like used tires from him.
Okay. So this was like a good deal for him because he didn't have to find a buyer. He just like had
He had plebs to sell his tire
yeah,
to. Yes,
he had the O'Gorman plebs to sell tires to.
yes. So I started buying tires. They were 15 inch, whatever tires for my Civic, and I started bolting them onto. I bought a set of like cool. Oh no. Team Dynamic Motorsports wheels, 15x7s for my Civic. They like poked out a little, like white touring car wheels.
Okay. Did that
And I drove on the street with those. And then I had the Steelies from the car, and I would bolt the Victo Racers for autocross onto the Steelies. Those were my autocross tires.
that's so backwards.
Yeah. Because I couldn't autocross an H stock with like this class without stock wheels.
Okay, so at this point the lizard is like fully in, right? Like you're just like
I'm paying attention to the rules.
you're
I'm
paying
trying
attention.
to do the right thing.
Yeah, you're well, it's
Yeah.
not even like trying to do the right thing. Like you're trying to win H stock like at these events.
Not really.
Okay, so like the results at
That
this
doesn't
point
click yet.
Okay, the results haven't mattered yet.
Honestly, no.
Okay.
They genuinely, for the first probably year and a half
It was
or
just
more,
you were just having fun.
it was kind of me and my dad versus each other, and it was kind of overall results, and that was about it. Maybe class results, kind of.
Yeah.
I really don't remember having that much awareness or strategy at this time. It was just like something fun.
Yeah, you were just like turning tires into dust and like that was enough.
Yes, but I remember wanting to do a good job driving, and I also remember. So we've skipped the whole sim racing side of things, but I
Oh,
basically was like
well,
playing racing games,
let's
sim
rewind a
racing,
little
video
bit.
games, that kind of thing, and that made it click. Like I felt like I knew what I was doing when I was autocrossing too. So I
Yeah.
like wanted to do a good job with improving my time every run and like trying to win the class, I guess. I don't remember it being that strategic at the time. I don't have a lot of memories of feeling
Yeah,
competitive.
gotcha. What do you think it was like in your own mind at that time, if you remember? Do you think you weren't finding yourself like caring all that much about the results because you knew that like you just had? I'm assuming the EX Civic was not the H Street car to have at that time.
Yeah, I remember when we started doing the Miata Club events, so the Austin Healey Alfa Romeo Club events. I drove maybe 3 or 4 of those, and even the very first one, I did beat my dad after the however many runs we got, and I just kind of like felt comfortable. And I think I got 3rd overall, maybe, or 7th overall, something out of 30. It was like, oh, this kid is amazing. He's so talented. He's so fast. That's kind of how it felt.
Yeah.
I was aware of that more than I was aware of my own goals.
Yeah.
Let's say goals. Like I didn't have like a strategy.
So
it was just like
You were just
people
dopamine
keep telling me
chasing.
I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And look, I'm like my results are kind of good.
Okay,
that
so
kind of thing.
all right, so I'm breaking this down for childhood Tom right now. It's like basically you did the thing, you got dopamine from people going like, "Wow, like you're so amazing," and then you're like, "Well, if I keep doing a good job, I'll get the dopamine from people like congratulating me for like not sucking, basically." Right?
And the driving itself, I loved. Yeah, both
right.
of those things.
Yeah, both. So now we got like the feedback loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Totally.
all right. So like you're hooked in at this point. Like it's got you, right?
Yep. So meanwhile, it's 2008. I have my own car, and my cousin is still autocrossing, and he's doing national events at this time. Like he'd been to nationals already. He was running like as competitive an East Street, East Stock Miata as he could. And as we did more and more events, I was kind of aware of him doing national events and stuff like that. And um, So okay, so the winter between the time that I got my license and the next season, so this is 2007, 2008 winter.
Okay.
We were doing a winter karting league in a local go-kart track in Indiana called
All the way in
who cares?
Indiana?
So
Was it close to you or was it like
yeah, Cincinnati is only like 20 minutes from Indiana
oh, okay.
if you drive straight west. So it was maybe 45 minutes away in Indiana. And we were doing a winter endurance racing league at the rental go-kart track that was closest to us. And
When
it
you
was like a
say
lot of
we-
SCCA people who came from Cincinnati and Columbus and Cleveland and Indianapolis. And it was like teams of 3 doing hour endurance races. And we all would like go there, I don't know what, 4 times a winter maybe.
Okay.
And that it was like a championship at the local kart track.
Gotcha. When you say we, like who were you teamed up with?
So it was my dad, we would go there. And then my cousin was coming down, so I would go with him. And one event, I didn't have a team, but I had been there enough and I had been approved to drive the adult carts because I had just remember been 15 and just turned 16. And there was these 2 guys from Indianapolis who needed a third person to do their race with them. And I jumped in with them and we ended up winning the race. And it turns out these 2 guys, Guff and Jess, Jeff and Gus, Jeff and Gus were autocrossing like twin STS Miatas, which are currently E Street Touring Miatas. First gen Miatas, autocross prep, street tires. And they had like a nationals focused car, but then the other guy had an identical car and that car would sit unless they took them both to a test and tune.
Okay.
And because I met them that winter and got on their team randomly through my cousin, and then we won, and it was just ended up being like a, you know, all of us are hanging out together or talking or whatever. They offered me to drive their backup car at a national event in Grissom, Peru, where we still autocross.
Yep.
Later that summer.
Okay, so this is 2008, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the 2008 season starts. You're doing some like local events in like your Civic or whatever, right?
Yes. And okay, so in this season, I bought my Victo racers. We're gonna jump up and down 2008 a little bit, but I remember very early in the season we got a new site. It was the Kentucky Motor Speedway, which is like right in northern Kentucky, less than an hour from where I live, where NASCAR raced and stuff. And we were autocrossing in the parking lot. And there were 2 people near me. One of them's Jack Burns, who still autocrosses. The other one was Scott Bourne. I don't know that Scott autocrosses very much anymore, but they both had H stock cars. And Jack was in a Mazda 3, maybe at the time, whatever the national car was to have, either a Mini Cooper or a Mazda 3. And Scott was in a Civic, and I had an older Civic. So I did an event, and the 3 of us got top 3 in packs. And I almost beat both of them. And Jack Burns had just won H stock at nationals the year before.
Okay.
So he wins the class. Then Scott gets second. He had trophied the year before, and I get third. And I almost beat, like I'm running with them in my like shitbox stock high school commuter.
Okay.
That was the first event that I genuinely remember being like, oh, class competition. I want this. Like, I want to drive harder. I want to like, I'm a part of this. That's the first time I remember like locking in on the fact that there was like packs, class results, you know, this like what do we call it? The transitive property of autocross. Like I could have finished third at nationals last year. That was the first time all this shit that clicked.
Yeah,
you know?
Everyone's done that.
Yep,
you're looking
100%.
at you're looking at your gap to the person who like won based on this one event you did with them and like trying to figure out where you would have placed. Yeah. I mean, look, we currently have 21 people in the audience. Who hasn't done that when you first started autocrossing, right? Like when you find out that national events are a thing and you start like finding where the results are hiding. Yeah, dude, everyone's done that. That's funny.
Yep. And if it hasn't happened yet, it's gonna.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it to happen.
Yeah, Mike in the chat's like, yep, me. Yep. So okay, well that's fun. So all right, so at some point during this year, 2008, you had your first national event, right? In that like backup
in that
loaner, like not national Miata, right?
It
Sorry.
was fully prepped for the class though.
Oh, it
So
was.
I drove
Okay.
that car. Me and some other guy. I forget his name. He doesn't autocross anymore. But I actually ended up winning that event over the
Against,
two guys in their main car.
yeah.
And I still have photos on I deactivated my Facebook, but I'm sure you can still go find it. I have like a 400 photo album because I had a digital camera and I just went and took photos of every car at their. They used to put a timer person and they would write the time slip, your time on a slip and hand it to you at the end of
And
every
you just take
run.
a picture of it?
And I was standing next to the car and I would take a photo of the cars that I thought were cool. And,
Yeah.
that was my mindset at my first national event. But I ended up winning. And that was like the tandem thing happened where the local event, like, oh, I'm like, I have some locals that I want to do better with and like be more competitive with and whatever. And I got to drive this nationally competitive car and had success with that too. So
Yeah.
then like the two hooks were in both of my cheeks then.
Yeah.
It wasn't just one, you know.
And you're getting drug into the pit of motorsports forever.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the summer that I quit. I was playing junior varsity volleyball in high school. I was playing piano. I'd been playing for 10 years. I was racing a bunch of sim leagues and stuff, but like not as seriously. That's when I quit everything else extracurricular and was just like, I need to get a job. I need to make money so I can go to autocross events and pay for entry fees and like keep doing this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
That was that year.
did it like kind of slowly like sink into that level of commitment, or was it like after the national event you're just like, I don't have friends anymore, like forget everything, like I'm focused on this?
The latter.
Oh really? So
I
it was
really
just, it
don't.
was a
There was
switch.
not a process of decision or
Yeah.
yeah. It was just
So okay.
everything became making decisions around going to autocross
Yeah,
events.
gotcha. Okay. All right. So now you're full on, you're full lizard at this point. Like there's no
Yeah.
stopping you. So it's 2008. Did you go to nationals in 2008?
No, my first nationals was 2009.
Okay.
And I got lucky through a group of like connections of going to some national events. And, because I co-drove my first time, I also had people putting their neck out for me in a way. Like the car owner whose car I drove was like, yeah, he can co-drive kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this long story short, I ended up getting connected to his name was James Feinberg. He's passed away since, but he was like one of the autocrossers at nationals. Like everybody knew who this guy was. He was a character. He was fast as shit. Like everybody knew Jim, and he had an extra car sitting around that was an stock MR2, and the car had won nationals before, and it was a yellow hardtop or slick top MR2, and me and another guy, Nick, ended up co-driving it at nationals because he was driving some other car. I forget what he was driving, but yeah, I did my first nationals in his car, in a car that had won nationals as driver number 199 because no one else was using that number at that time except
Yeah.
for him in that car.
Yep.
So since he wasn't driving it, we inherited it.
Yep. So
And if you don't know what that means, if you're not an autocrosser, that means like the biggest dorks of all time pick 199. It means you run last.
absolutely.
It means you're the second driver of the car that runs last. You have the last opportunity. Yeah, like everybody wants to be 199, really. So like that was my first autocross nationals experience, was being number 199, and I
You're like,
remember
"Who's
putting so
this
much
guy?
pressure on myself and all this. Yeah,
Who's this Tommy O'Gorman guy over here?"
yeah, basically.
All right. Do you remember anything about your first nationals? Like, did you put too much pressure on yourself? Were you like super nervous, or were you just happy to be there? Like, where was Tommy O'Gorman's headspace here?
All the above. I remember my dad came with me, so he and I drove out together, and I remember driving the test course and having to learn like a stock MR2 on Hoosier A6s at the time. I remember being surprised at how soft the throttle felt and how dull the throttle felt. I remember being surprised at how much it didn't turn because it would hike the inside front tire off the ground. It would just like
Yep.
plop down on the rear tire and just like carry him around like that. It wouldn't turn. Um, And I remember thinking I could win. I remember being like, this is one of the cars that's won nationals before. Like, I should be able to win.
And I won a national event earlier this year, so like,
Yeah.
who's
Right.
gonna stop me?
No, the previous year.
Oh
But
yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
I remember knowing like I have the opportunity, and I just bungled day one. Like I was not prepared. I wasn't looking ahead. I was just trying really hard
Yeah.
and not doing a good job. And I remember I coned my first 2 runs. The third run, I had to like come to a near stop to not cone the third run. And that day I sat 16th out of 50 some, I think 40 some, 50 some cars. And I remember it was out of the trophies because they do a what, top fourth of the field gets trophies, top third,
I think
something
it's
like that.
top third, yeah.
So I was right outside the trophies, and the second day was raining, and we had Hoosier Wets. We were one of the only cars that had them. And the second day, I was the second fastest car. It actually dried out enough that the fastest car was on dry tires, but I was the second fastest car day 2, and I went from 16th to 6th, and I did trophy my first nationals. I remember having that little glimmer of like the full spectrum experience. I ruined my nationals. I lost on day 1. I coned almost everything. I had to do a salvage run. I didn't have a mental preparation mindset or like experience enough to manage that.
Yep.
I remember being sad, but then I remember the day 2 feeling like it didn't matter and doing the best that I could, and then it went really well.
Everyone has had a nationals like that. You just had to do it your first time.
Yeah, you do it long enough, it'll happen.
Yeah, I did it.
But yeah, there was
I-
cliche shit.
Mine was in 2019 where I coned every run. I was like, oh man, that's a bad
In the Corvette?
feeling. Yeah, in the Corvette. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bad feeling. You're like, oh, I'm literally just out of it. Like I'm day 2 is me just doing autocross runs. Like anything that I hoped was gonna happen here, like is obviously not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a big learning curve, but I still remember the glimmer of being like, I basically won day 2. I still am like, I also I'm trying to remember the event itself. It was just such a whirlwind. It was the first event ever at Lincoln, so it's still where we have nationals now. And I think it like having my dad there. I just remember it being like we were doing nationals, but he wasn't driving.
got it.
I really don't remember a whole lot of like other people that event.
Has your dad driven nationals?
No. He did one event. Actually, that same year, 2009, was the only year I owned my own autocross car, and he and I co-drove a national event together. But he didn't like latch onto autocross the way I did. He didn't care about the autocross.
Your dad's never.
Sorry, he didn't care about the competition.
But
Go
your
ahead.
dad's never done solo national championships before?
Nope.
I feel
But he's
like
been twice.
I know, like, but I feel like it's like a bucket list event. Like even just participating in it. Like even if you don't have like any like anticipation of like doing anything notable, like just being part of like the festivities, I feel like is kind of a bucket list. Do we got to get your dad to go to nationals? It's not too late.
I'll let him respond to this question, but I think he'd have more fun being the like tour guide for the locals who come to the event and don't know what's happening, and he could just like walk them around and tell them what's going on. I think that would be more his jam than driving.
We got to find Papa Gorman a freaking nationals ride in like a week. You ready?
Yeah. He did say he thought about coming out. We could find
should.
him something.
We could find him something. I feel like you can't go to net because like then you're not part of the course walks. And I remember I went with a coworker a couple years ago, and he wasn't supposed to drive because like technically we were there working or whatever. And I took vacation days for like the days I was working, or for the days I was running. So like because I was there for work too, but I took like the 2 vacation days that was needed to like technically not be working when I drove.
Mhm.
And I talked my coworker, and I'm like, you can't be here and not drive. Like, we'll find you something. I'll find you a car. I'll find you a helmet. Like, all you got to do is show up and drive around the cones. And he was very thankful that he participated because it's a completely different experience than just being there. Like you
Yeah.
kind of have to participate to understand any of it. Like I'm trying to think of what it would be like what solo nationals would be like if you weren't participating but you were there. We probably look real crazy. I mean, granted, we are. Let's be honest. But if you're participating in the crazy, it makes a little bit more sense. You kind of have
Yep.
like a little bit a better understanding of like what's happening. So we got to get maybe not this year. I don't know how your dad does with like last second plans and changes, but I think we need to get Papa Gorman to do a national event here, or to do solo nationals. And I'm sure
I
we
don't know
could
if he
find him a.
would.
I'm sure we can find him a car. What if we found him something really cool to drive, like something in the
I
XA?
just I genuinely don't know if that's like in his value system, and like I don't know that he would find that enticing. I'll find out. He can probably hear me around the corner right now.
Yeah,
I'm in his house,
he's-
but I
I'm imagining him coming through the doorway and then just putting his thumb down, like no.
yeah. But I mean, they've been twice. Yeah, they came my dad came the first year, and both my parents came in 2013, which was the first year with the 914,
Okay.
the
So all right.
Porsche 914.
So
So
let's
anyway,
fast
sorry,
forward
go
a
ahead.
little bit. So you're doing the MR2 first nationals. You trophy after a strong day 2 performance. Like what did your cars and performances look like from then? Because like now you've been to solo nationals, you've been doing national events, you've like found some success. You're testing yourself. You're going against like you're probably going to more national events, right? Like now you're traveling all over the place because like now you've traveled all the way out to Lincoln, like a 8 hour drive to Charlotte probably doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And right, am
Yep.
I?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the thing I forgot. So I did my first national event in 2008. I did my second one the week after. They were back to back, and it was my first pro solo, and I got my ass kicked. So I had like within a maybe 2 week window, 1 week window, I won a national event and I got my ass kicked at a national event. And then I continued to do a couple of them. I won another one in the spring of 2009, went to nationals 2009, and then I just kind of became like a perennial co-driver. I did a pro solo in a Corvette, an A street prepared, like an ASP Corvette.
Okay.
2009, I won that, and then I did a pro solo right after that, and I lost and got my butt kicked again. So I was really up and down.
Yep.
2010, I did nationals in a Miata. 2011, I did a a CRX. 2012, I did a CRX. I was co-driving. 2012 was the first year I had a regular co-drive with Dave Montgomery, who currently still drives the Porsche 914 that we started driving together 2013. But he had a CRX in 2012. That was the first year that I like led a day at nationals, and I also won the Pro Solo Championship that year, like 2 days before nationals.
Okay.
So I came really close in 2012. 13 was the first year I won, and that was in the F prepared Porsche.
Yeah.
And I also won Driver of the Year for solo that year because I had been co-driving a bunch of different cars, and I got top packs at like 8 national events that year in different
Okay.
classes. Like
So
13 was like my burner year,
yeah, you're
like
like
my big billboard year for autocross.
Gotcha.
And that was the year that woke me up from like, you don't go any further with autocross than this. Like you did the best you could. You got a national championship. You got Driver of the Year. Everybody was like, "Woo, Tom!"
Yeah.
But who cares? You know, the day after nationals, that's all you do. So that's what made me start to focus on road course and like road racing.
I
after
care,
that.
Tom. I care. Hey, when
Yeah, that's true. I don't mean to devalue it.
what
You're right.
what well no, I cared that you won in 2013. What year were you on the SCCA magazine? Because I remember reading your article before I ever met you, and your story that we'll get into because that was a little after the next stage that you're at. But I'm just curious, just to like, I'm gonna pin it in the timeline, and then we'll come back to it.
Yep. So we're talking 2013 was that Driver of the year. In the time between that, I glazed over real quick. 2009, I owned my own car. It was a Miata, and I did my first track day ever in my own Miata at Mid Ohio with an SCCA. It was event. It was called PDX at the time, if anybody remembers Performance Driving Experience. And I also then sold that car, bought another Miata, and thought I was going to go like NASA time trialing. This is like 2012-ish, 2013, around the same time. And I tried to do my first time trial, and I signed up for Friday, which ended up being a test and tune for the time trial. And I didn't understand the difference. And I did an entire day thinking I was doing time trial. Didn't even register that I didn't have a transponder on the car.
You're just like
Realized at
somebody
some
has a
point throughout the
stopwatch.
Friday that we're not in competition, and realized that like I was pissed at motorsports for letting that happen to me. Crazy. So that was all happening in the background while I'm like hardcore focused on autocross. I was on this cover of Sports Car Magazine that you're talking about in 2015.
I'm looking
So
at the cover.
2014 was the first year that I did road racing. I bought an improved touring
Hold on. Sam
Honda Civic.
posted. Sam posted the. Were you on the? How many times were you on the cover? Because this one's from 16. Was this your first
Just
time
the
on the
one.
cover?
Oh, was it 16?
Yeah,
It
July
might
of
have been 16.
2016. Okay.
Okay, so 14 was my first club racing season. I bought the club racing car. 15 was the year that I bought my Honda Fit after I sold my club racing car to try pro racing, and then 16 was the year that you're thinking of.
Okay, gotcha. So 16, I remember reading your article and just being like if Tom can do it, I can do it. Like I was like, I literally remember having that thought. And Tom, I remember like listening, like every single time you were on a podcast or something. I think like Slip Angle like just came out around then, and like
Yep.
any
Yep.
episode you were on, I'm just like, if Tom can do it, I can do it. Like I just remember like thinking and feeling that. Because like you got your start from autocross, and that was the thing I was doing, and I wanted the same thing that you had, right? I just remember I was just following you so hard. So
That's cool.
we'll get into my origin story on the next episode, where I'm fanboying over Tom like secretly, like from across like the room. But yeah, so all right, so you got the Honda Fit, and you're gonna go pro racing.
Yeah, so the first year that I bought my Civic, 2014, I had started to become really strategic. This was the only time I got strategic with my motorsports, I would say, is I won my national championship. I realized that you don't go any further than that, and I wanted to try club racing. So I ended up finding this improved touring car. It was Jinx Jordan's car, autocrosser and road racer that a lot of us know, and it had won a bunch of races before. It was a 1990 Honda Civic, 1.5 liter 4-speed Honda Civic base, and
4-speed.
I bought that with all my savings that I had built up from working at the go-kart track. And I had set goals for like, I want to do this many races. I want to do this particular race, which was the American Road Race of Champions, the ARC at Road Atlanta. And I want to, get my racing license, because I thought I was going to have to go through novice school and do the whole
Whole
thing.
thing, and yeah.
It ended up that I had been now autocrossing for like 6 to 7 years, and I met enough people to like, basically I phoned in my license.
Oh, I didn't know that was an
through a
option.
Fend, through a I didn't really think that was going to be an option either. And then they told me they could give me a novice permit, and then I get a thing in the mail that says I have a full comp license. So I think they messed it up. I really glazed through this part of the process that a lot of people spend a lot of time on.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel really like, no, my parents never bought me a ride, but I did get that happening to me. So I was very lucky. And then I had my license. I was club racing. I did 5 events that year, and I won, of the 9 races across those 5 weekends, I won 5 or 6 of them. I forget.
Hold on.
Anyway, I was like checking off my to-dos. So I won enough that year in my Civic that I was like, I can't just stay here. I don't want to do this more. I want to get into something bigger. So that's when I ended up doing the Fit, because I was weighing B-Spec, Spec Miata, and Spec Racer Ford at the time. And I realized through basically some friends at the time that B-Spec was the cheapest car and the cheapest running costs, and it was eligible for pro racing with basically no changes, where Spec Miata and Spec Racer Ford were only eligible for club racing and club championships for more money.
Right.
So that's how I ended up with the Fit.
Can we back up for 1 second? Just
Yes.
because like people might be listening to this and being like, well, how, like I'm a 17-year-old, and I can't like I can't have a competitive autocross car. Like how were you getting these co-drives? Like were you like paying their entries, or were they
Sure,
just
sure, sure.
inviting you, or
I was very fortunate with a lot of people being very generous. So I think if anything, I earned a pretty decent reputation of being a good co-driver at the time.
okay.
You know, like a person that people could either trust with their car, learn from, maybe. I genuinely don't really know. I just got really fortunate often that people would let me drive their cars. I would pay their entry fees if they asked. I would buy them a tire every once in a while. People would have me buy them tires. So I was still working and earning money to do that.
Yeah.
But
And
for the most part, it was a lot of goodwill stuff.
and I'm willing to bet that you were fun to be around, so you didn't you added to their experience of their weekend instead of subtracting.
I don't know.
right?
This is the time that John Hunter thought I was an asshole because I was so shy. I wouldn't talk to people. So I don't know if that was it or not.
Dang. I was gonna make a point
I was
about
a teenager. I didn't know who I was yet.
as a hey, a habitual co-driver, like the advice I always give is like you have to be fun. Like you can't take away from the weekend in any capacity
Yeah,
ever. Like
absolutely
you
true.
have to be fun. You have to add to the weekend, whether that's with like data or like making food or whatever, like whatever it is, it needs, you need to be a net positive on the weekend. You can't just like drive cars and then just be like thanks and then leave, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So
Yeah, so all through this time, we've now gone through 2016. I was still autocrossing often through all this based on the goodwill, like I talked about. So I met a group from. I mean, I was kind of a national kid. Like I didn't feel a part of the Cincinnati region for autocross. I didn't feel a part of any particular group. I kind of moved region to region and met people and hung out with people, and that felt very natural at the time. I was mooching for sure in hindsight, but I did like genuinely just build relationships with people all throughout this stuff. So the years that we're talking about now, I was co-driving with people a lot in the New England and Washington D.C. area, and I was driving their cars competitive, like their competitive cars at events when I popped up, without having to own my own car. I got very lucky with that.
Adam Kovac just
Holy
posted
crap!
a
Look at this.
picture, my 2017 Tom fanboy photo in Lincoln.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is cool. That's
So yeah,
also
2015 was the year that I said, like I said, I had accomplished my goals for 2014. I'd sold my club racing car and used the funding to buy a pro racing car, which was the Honda Fit, the black one. And I didn't have any money to actually like enter the pro races, or like I just kind of generally knew how it would work. I met the big catalyst was James Wilson, who owned Black Armor Helmets, and he had a B spec car that he was like driving from his house to races, and he was getting a lot of notoriety for it. He like drove the car on the street from Texas to Laguna Seca to do a pro race with it, and
That's
like
pretty
got an
cool.
article written about it and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So he and I knew each other from autocross, and a couple of his other friends also started to jump in on this, like, you should get a B spec car. This is what it actually is like. And I bought this Honda Fit, and they were encouraging me to try pro racing. Anyway, so I did all the budgeting. I realized I couldn't afford it, and I did a crowdfunding campaign like as a last ditch effort. And that crowdfunding campaign went out to obviously like family and friends, mostly autocrossers. And I raised 8 grand to race the car, which let me do 2 races that season. Mid Ohio, which was a support race for one of the NASCAR series racing at Mid Ohio, in Pirelli World Challenge, and Laguna Seca, which was its own standalone weekend in Pirelli World Challenge. And that was 2015.
And I remember this, like you had everyone's names like written on the car that donated like a
Yep,
specific
yep.
amount, and you had like
I did
t-shirts and
t-shirts. I
yeah.
did anything I could give away. I felt really dirty asking for money for no reason, so I tried to make it so like basically any amount of money you gave, you got something.
Yeah.
Um,
Sunglasses. No, not really.
yeah,
Wait, were people
basically.
getting blue sunglasses?
No, I didn't give those out. I didn't know how to find
Okay.
enough of them.
When did the blue
I couldn't find them.
sunglasses? When did the blue sunglasses become a thing?
So this started the blue sunglasses because I bought my Honda Fit, which I bought on eBay, by the way, and I sight unseen got delivered from Florida to Ohio by a friend. It had these blue Momo wheels on it, like mesh blue wheels. And I thought, like, if I'm going to try pro racing, I should have like a logo. And I don't know why I thought that, but I thought that.
Yeah.
And I came up with the, like, at the time I was wearing that style of sunglass a lot, and my hair was a thing. So I like, okay, what if I make it my hair and my sunglasses? So I photoshopped and made this logo for myself, and I tried to make it the blue of the wheels of my Fit, and I got the blue wrong. So they were like dark blue wheels, and I like messed up, and I picked light blue, and that's how the light blue came about.
For real? Can somebody
Yeah.
post the Tomo Racing logo in the chat, please?
So then then I found the real glasses like a couple months later, actually in a gift shop in Las Vegas. I was walking by them. I was at work
And you're like,
for an event,
oh, there they
and I
are.
was like, I have to buy all of them. So I went in the gift shop and bought all 5 of them for like whatever it was, $20 a pair.
Oh, no way.
And then that was the first time that I had the glasses for real.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is around the time where Tom shows up on my radar, and I remember seeing all these pictures of people rooting for this autocrosser. And they would also like do that, like, cause you had this thing where you would like crop your face out of the picture, and like what was happening was in the background, and only half of your face, cause that's what your logo was just half of your face. It was really
Yep.
clever. I don't know how calculated all of this was, but
It was calculated, but I didn't it was all organic too.
yeah. I mean, I think that's why it was effective is because it was organic, but also, like, it was clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So around this time, so yeah, 2015 was that year that I got all this community support and I got the crowdfunding thing. I did the race at Mid Ohio. I got knocked off the track 2 of the 3 races we did, and I podiumed the 3rd race. That was the race where I told the story recently of like leaving the track with a wrecked race car and going straight to the national event to like autocross with my friends to lick
Yeah.
my wounds. That all happened 2015. But I also met the people from Honda Performance Development, Honda Racing, because I bought a car from a team that was known to have the car be illegal. And I showed up to the 2nd race at Laguna Seca by myself, and the series came to me immediately and said, "We are basically certain that your car is illegal because the catalytic converters are cleaned out and we need to check that." And sure enough, they were cleaned out. And I had to order parts overnight to get them to Laguna Seca, which Honda helped me with. And that's basically how I met the Honda people.
Okay. Now for
So they were like, this kid is floundering. We need to help him,
yes.
is kind of how I met Honda.
And for context, I want everyone to note that during this whole process, Tom O'Gorman has never mentioned a wrench or any tool of any kind.
That's a good point.
Yeah. There is no part of Tom that has touched tools up at this point.
So I got a lot of help when I had my own race cars. The first year, my dad did a ton. We had some people around the local area in Cincinnati that helped a lot. Dave Montgomery's dad came down and helped sometimes because at that time I also just started doing ride and drive work. So I was traveling as a contractor, gig worker, and there were times where I literally would finish a job and I would fly. Like when I raced at Road Atlanta the first time in 2014, I flew straight from a job to there, having my car been prepped by my dad, and like he brought it on his trailer to Road Atlanta and picked me up from Atlanta's airport, and we went to the track.
Yeah.
So I was getting like, again, like people weren't spending money on me, but people were being unbelievably, incredibly, overwhelmingly generous with their like resources and time to make sure that I was still racing.
Because they were caught up in like the excitement of like you doing
Yeah,
this like
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
hard and ambitious thing, right? Like so, like I feel like that's not just a Tom O'Gorman story. Like anytime somebody like puts themselves out there, like
Right.
they're doing something very difficult and they like completely expose themselves, like people tend to rally against that or like with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially grassroots people. I think the grassroots world cheers for itself in a
Yes.
huge way.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Because
So I got lucky to get that energy for a couple years.
really a lot of people, whether they could do it or not, like they're rooting, like they want to live like vicariously through like that experience. And at this time you were sharing a lot on social media about like what that experience was like and like the things you were doing and the so like people got to live vicariously through like this experience that you were doing and you were sharing the experience. So like yeah, it makes a lot of sense why people were wrapped up into it.
Yeah, the other thing I got lucky with there, mentioning social media, is I'm the year, if you track the timeline of social media and my kids born my year. Like I had MySpace for a couple years before Facebook was a thing, and I was the first year that Facebook was eligible for kids in high school of all ages. So I got a Facebook like the first year I was a freshman in high school, and then that was just a really organic part of our life to like have this connective social media dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when, like, if you're friends with autocrossers or if you are an autocrosser, it's still a thing. You go write like a manifesto of the weekend and tell everybody how it went and like all the stuff you did, and you post your video. Like that was the era that started, and I was part of that dynamic, whatever you want to call it. So
Yep.
it was just natural for me to be sharing everything I was doing about motorsports on social media, and that ended up being a huge catalyst to getting a big following. Like I was seen as the social media kid, even though that wasn't a thing in the sense of like followers or view counts yet. It was just
Right.
everybody knew what I was doing because I was posting it all on social media.
Right. You weren't posting it in the hopes that you get a follower and that follower helps you get sponsors and that those followers and sponsors help you go do like other things, which like that wasn't you're just like, I'm sharing what I'm doing because it's fun.
And I was aware that you could share stuff like that, but I didn't know how to do it. Like I said, I was not that strategic, to be honest.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that gets me through 15 into 16. And the Honda people that I met in 2015, including a racer that was also in B Spec, his name's David Daughtery, and he's won a couple SCCA road racing championships at the runoffs. He was in B Spec at the time. He had a Honda Fit. I had a Honda Fit. We raced against each other once. And he just kind of stayed in touch with me. And we finished off that year. I did my 2 pro races and I had some success there. I think at Laguna, I podiumed 2 of the 3 races, and at Mid Ohio, I podiumed 1 of the 3 races. And anyway, David knew, or I knew, I don't remember exactly how this happened, but he and I were in contact with each other, and we knew that Honda had a new Fit, a 3rd generation Fit, sitting, and it was a promo car for SEMA. If you look this up, it was the show car that they fit as many IndyCar drivers in as they could. There's a video of like 11
Real?
IndyCar drivers trying to fit in this car. We knew that car was sitting around. So
Yeah.
he and I built this proposal that they would loan us that car for 2016 and he would club race it and I would pro race it and we would both try to win a championship in the same year sharing the same car. And that was because B Spec and Pirelli World Challenge, yes, thank you Sam. There's a picture of all of them. Was the same in both except for the tires. So we could share the car. And yeah, that Honda Fit in that photo became my race car in 2016. And I don't really know other than so the guy at Honda that I was working with, he kind of came from club racing. His name's Jeff Barrow, and I think he's with Radical North America now. For some reason, he just kind of got me. I think he got where I came from. He got that I didn't understand motorsports fully. I didn't come from like a motorsports family, all that kind of stuff, but he
Yeah.
knew what I was doing and trying to do. So to the he said yes to the proposal and he loaned us this car in 2016 and that was the first time I started working with Honda.
Cool. All right. So, I mean, what was the money like at that
Mm,
point? Because, like, it's not like they wrote you a check, right? They just let you
right.
use this vehicle, and if anybody who's went racing before knows, like, the vehicle is like not really the expensive part of racing. It's
Right.
literally everything else.
So 2012, 2013, I was working full time at the kart track and my yearly salary was $28,000 a year. And that's what I was autocrossing on. The next year I started working ride and drive gigs and I think I was making something similar. I think I might have made a little more that year. That's what I raced on the first club racing year. The second year, basically I raced on the crowdfunding campaign money. Still making, I don't know, I think I was making like 35-ish, but it was all gig stuff coming in.
Yeah.
And then the next year it was very similar. I was racing on less than 40 grand a year. Luckily living with my parents still and racing on a loaned race car. But I was doing very little. I skipped Dave, my best friend at the time. He got married that year, and I skipped his wedding because it was going to cost too much. Like I did not do a whole lot at all. I just worked as many events as I could and
Yeah.
went to autocrosses and road races when I could.
Yeah. Okay. Um, all right.
Oh, and I got lucky. So at the time, SCCA was sanctioning Pirelli World Challenge. So I was working for SCCA I got hired in 2015 to help build Track Night in America after instructing the starting line school for like 3 years
I've
for
never heard.
SCCA.
Yeah, I've never heard of either of those programs.
Yeah. So I kind of got in the ins with SCCA doing that. And then because they were sanctioning the pro racing at the time, there were some similar connections and some SCCA people put in a word for me with World Challenge people to say like maybe look out for this kid and give him some media opportunities if you can.
Yeah.
And I started to get some media opportunities and I kind of knew that that was like my angle. I don't know, it felt very like I have to be comfortable on camera. I have to be willing to just like film myself. I have to be willing to just like share what's going on. I don't have an option.
Yeah.
And why am I telling this story? Oh, so I was getting myself opportunities through that way, and I would basically pitch like the 2016 season. I got free entry fees for Pirelli World Challenge by proposing to them that I would like do social media stuff for them, and like I would give paddock tours at some of the races, and I would earn myself like the way to spend less money by doing other stuff.
Yeah. That makes
That
sense.
was the other angle I was playing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So how did 2016 go?
2016, I actually had to take a loan on my second gen Fit to race the season, to pay for the season up front. And then I had to race it the first 2 weekends. We raced at Coda and Mosport on the car that I now had a loan on because Honda couldn't give me this car fast enough. So then I got this car for the next 3 races of the year, and I ended up winning the championship with the 5 races, 5 weekends, 10 races that year
Okay,
in
I
both
didn't.
cars combined.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't realize that you did only like a portion of the season in that in the the what is that, a third gen fit? Is that what they would
The
call
3rd
it?
gen one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So okay, so you started in
It
like
was so stressful.
you started in the car that you originally. So yeah, you took a loan on this race car. Who gave you a loan on a race car? That is a terrible.
I went to a Honda dealership and I got the car street approved or like registered. And then I went to a bank and used the registration paperwork for the race car to get a loan on it to pay for the entry, not the entry fees, but like the other stuff up front to
Yeah,
race that year.
yeah. Okay.
Don't finance racing, people.
Wait.
I know someone told me that early and I did it anyway. Do not finance racing.
Look, I pulled out personal loans to finance my first year of racing too. So like, I guess we're terrible. Like we are terrible role models, Tom. Like nobody
In
should do that.
hindsight, I thought I was going to sell this car. And then because I couldn't get the other car fast enough, I had to race it. So then I'm like racing a car I financed it for 10 grand. That was all I needed with $10,000.
Yeah.
And then I had to race it. Stupid.
So whose idea was that? Was that your idea? Because like you're the most like frugal, like financially responsible person I know, basically. So like that is such a wild move from you.
I don't remember how that idea came up. It
Somebody
couldn't have
else.
been just me.
Yeah, I was gonna say somebody else had to come up with that because like I. This might sound a little weird to people, but like I feel like you're too risk averse for that.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. There's no way I came up with it by myself, but I was comfortable enough at the time knowing I didn't have to race the car that it wasn't a high risk thing. It was just that I didn't want to sell it until I knew that I was getting the other car.
Yeah.
And then the timelines started to get out of control and I was like, I'm just going to have to use this money to race it and
Oh my
this is the
goodness.
car I have.
What?
So I got second every race in the old car and then I basically won almost all the races in the new car because it was better in every way. And yeah, so I won the championship that year. We basically did what we said we were going to do to Honda. The season was through September or maybe early October. And David, my teammate who was sharing the car with me, he was racing the runoffs at Mid Ohio. And at the runoffs, I was doing a social media takeover for SCCA. I was there all weekend watching whatever. It's the year that the guy came to a stop and then intentionally wrecked somebody out in the S's. If you've ever seen that video of the American sedan, the Mustangs, the guy sitting in the S's waiting for his enemy to come around and then freaking takes him out.
Yeah, I've seen
It was that
clip.
year.
Okay.
And the Honda pulled me for a meeting at that race and they asked if I was interested in racing the new 10th gen Civic Si in the same series Pirelli World Challenge the next year, but instead they were going to pay for it and they were going to supply the car.
Were they
And
gonna?
I literally didn't understand what was happening because it was such a crazy thing that was happening that I didn't tell them yes right away because I needed to think about it, but only because I had to process why that was happening. It was just like
That was
it was crazy.
Dude,
It was such a crazy.
you probably
thing.
negotiated it so well, like on accident. They're like, he needs to think about what other options does Tom McGorman have? We need to
Maybe,
we need
yes.
to keep this kid around. I need to think about it. Hey, we want to give you a race car and pay for everything. I'm gonna have to think about it, guys. I have work on Monday.
I don't know what else to. Yeah, kind of. No, it wasn't that though. It was like I can't believe this is happening, and I had this feeling when they asked for that meeting that it was a good thing.
Yeah,
But I didn't really know what it was going to be, and then it ended up basically intersecting perfectly with that new Civic coming out, the 10th gen,
yep.
like the turbo car. And what else from that year? I guess that's what got me in with them. And then I was with Honda for the next that was 2016. So 16 had the loaner car, 17, 18, 19 was on contract.
Yeah.
And racing their cars.
Yep. And then what happened? COVID.
No, I'm kidding. So 20. I mean, a lot of this stuff now it's a little easier to find the stuff, the information. I thought it'd be fun to do the origins of like the real nitty gritty early year stuff. But 2017, I raced that new car. The storyline of the year in hindsight, we can do another episode some other day about this, but it was a new car in a new class of spec racing. I was the only one They kept our BOP incredibly conservative. I barely did anything notable that year, but I finished third in the championship, just being consistent. Then they did another year for me, and that was the year that they placed me with Real Time Racing. Real Time Racing was managing the car. Oh my god, I didn't even tell the story of Andy and Renee helping. So when I started pro racing, the first two events I did, the first one, Mid Ohio 2015, excuse me for rewinding, was my family and some friends and then me, and that was it. And we barely survived the weekend. The second one, Laguna Seca, across the country, was literally just me. And I went by myself, and I remember walking across the paddock with my arms out, and I had two tires on each arm, trying to carry old tires back to my paddock spot. And there was a driver's meeting happening. I was missing the driver's meeting, and I was trying to get my tires and fuel sorted out. And I had people helping me with the car who I didn't know, that I know now, obviously, and they were super helpful. I had a woman who was working grid. If anybody knows Toe and Kathy from Ohio, Tara and Kathy, they were working grid and stuff for Pirelli World Challenge. They were also working grid for like club racing 2 years prior when I started. Anyway, so this woman that I knew, Tara, she goes by Toe. She requested off working grid for the race that I was in, so she could be my radio person.
Oh,
Because so anyway, so I was getting help like that. That was the
yeah.
way I was getting help. The next year, I asked Andy Hollis if he would help, and Renee Hines came to me and said, "I'm going to help. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to take all of my vacation and come to your races and help." And that was the team in 2016, 2017 as well. 2018 was when I got placed with Real Time, and that was the year that I ended up. They knew the BOP well enough then that they let me be competitive, and they let me be too competitive to start, and then they just kept throwing weight at the car and BOPing and BOPing and BOPing and BOPing, and I ended up winning 6 of the 12 races that year and won the championship that year in 2018.
Yeah, cool. That
2019
was
was IMSA.
that
They
was
put me in TCR.
that was TCA, right? So,
TCA World Challenge. Yep.
yep.
In 2018, I also got, this is just rattling shit off at this point. I'm sorry for the storytelling, but I also got this random opportunity. The last maybe thing I'll tell is there was a guy in 2015 at Laguna Seca. His name's Nick Jacob, and he's a kind of like a career pro crew guy. Like he's run cars, he's run strategy, he works on the cars. He's kind of one of those like contractors for a team that people call. So he was working for a different team, and he was across the aisle from me and watching me struggle with my fit at that race when I was by myself. And he came over and helped me realign the car. And then he just kind of like, he just kind of supervised me. He kind of like kept an eye on me, and he would pop up if it looked like I needed help. He was just kind of a guardian angel. And we stayed close. And in 2.5 years later, there was a team called E-Euro Parts Racing, and they had been running a TCR car in IMSA, and they wanted to run a second car that was like a pro car only to get more awareness on their team. So my friend Nick put his neck out and said, like, we have to have Tom drive this car. And then the engineer for the car put his neck out and said, we have to have Kenton Cook drive this car. So me and Kenton Cook got paired together to co-drive this car in IMSA because these other two people recommended us. And that's how I got my first IMSA ride.
Which
And then the next year,
which I will
halfway through
say
2018.
which
Go
I
ahead.
will say was pretty wild because those were you and Kenton were the only two pro drivers at that point that I was friends with. And then you guys
Right.
are on the same team. And I was like, well, I obviously know who I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you know Kenton?
we
Sim
met,
racing?
no, we met at an autocross event, and he
Oh,
was
right.
gridded next
Yeah,
to me,
yeah.
and I was talking friendly shit, and he was returning it, and we were kind of giving each other some banter back and forth, and then his car, quote unquote, broke for the challenge because I wanted him in my car, um, and then we were like sim racing and stuff after that. So that's how I
Yeah.
knew Kenton, and then I knew you just from autocross and like following along and being a Tom fan. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, Kenton and Tom are in the same car. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I've
So,
told stories about that weekend and whatever else. So that was an Audi. I was racing for Honda, but Honda was not in TCR in the States yet. They were only in European TCR. So Honda signed off on me racing the Audi in IMSA while I was racing the Honda in World Challenge. And then the next year, Honda put me in the Honda for IMSA, but not before Euro Parts was getting a GT4 Audi R8, and they offered me that off season, and I had to make that was like my first pro racing decision.
Yeah.
I remember being like, I
Ooh.
cannot believe this is what's happening, because I got
Dang.
offered GT4 Audi with this privateer team or factory Honda in TCR, the lower class,
Would
and I
you
had to like
would you have been
decide.
would you have been driving with Kenton again?
I would have been teamed with Kenton, but it worked
Hmm.
out. Even though I got dropped the year after from COVID by Honda, Euro Parts went bankrupt before their season was
Ooh.
done that first
Yeah.
year. That would have been in the Audi,
Mm.
in the R8. So I
Okay. It
think I was going to a dead end either way,
Yeah.
maybe.
It sounds like those two branching paths just kind of ended. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, unfortunately.
so that's Tom's like pro driving like story, how he got there. And um but like you got to do a lot of stuff that, and before like the Honda stuff ended, just due to like if you remember, like it's 6 years after this point, but like when COVID came around, like all these big companies just were like, what can we slash off of the budget? And it was just like everything was getting cut because everyone went into like financial like save everything
Limbo, yeah.
mode. Right. Yeah. Limbo. So like Tom got cut. It was just like, whoop, okay, don't need to pay him anymore. Whoop. And then it was Tom's like, oh crap,
Yep.
I need a job.
The fiscal year was April 1 to April 1. COVID was mid-March. They went out of office in mid-March. They came back mid-May, and by the time they came back, my contract had expired from the previous year, and they said, we can't renew it. We don't know what's going on.
Yep. And
That was 2020.
that was that.
So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was like anything that I gloss over. I tried really hard to maintain. I'd still autocrossed all those years. I feel like I'm a grassroots autocross kid. I always felt a little out of place in pro racing paddocks, to be genuine, but uh I think that's the most of it. Talked about social media, talked about the money part of it, talked about, yeah, that's how I got where I'm at, I think.
Yeah, that's how. And then there's a lot of solo national championships, like during all those pro years, and yeah, you stayed busy and doing things, and like kind of just doing what looks fun, and uh, yeah, and then you started a podcast with some freaking dork, um, and yeah, here we are. So
And here we are. I did mention questions. Adam asked a question for this topic. Tom, what was your biggest Dunning-Kruger moment? And what's the biggest or hardest lesson you learned during motorsports career? I forgot a story. I think I've told this story before, but maybe biggest Dunning-Kruger moment was in 2012. I worked at my dad ended up starting a go-kart track, an indoor go-kart track. Really rewinding, remember that Indiana go-kart track we used to go to?
yep,
So we used to go there as customers, and my dad and his business partner were both wanting to open a business, and they were looking at like food franchises and Five Guys and Chipotle and whatever else, and they were thinking about like raising money to start that kind of thing. And then we were going to this go-kart track in the same time frame, and they were like, we could do that better if we just put it in a more central place. People don't have to drive an hour away from Cincinnati.
yeah,
Like, it'll work. And they started doing the business model, and they ended up starting a go-kart track that's now still in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I worked there when I dropped out of college for my first 3 years of all this, 2010 to 2013. So during that time, we were running that track partially as a race like competition track. I was running the leagues and the endurance races and everything. This company reached out that does like world championships for indoor rental karting, called the Kart World Championship, and we hosted a qualifying event for the World Championships at our track, which I won, and won a trip to the World Championships in Germany. Rigged. So
Totally
rigged. I got the
rigged.
best cart. The guy tuned it up for me. No, I'm kidding. So anyway, I got to go to Germany with this like 140 field international field of rental go-karting people. It was the most competitive thing I'd ever done at the time, and still to this day might be the most competitive field I've ever been in. It was so cutthroat and overwhelming, and there were so many people from so many countries and all this. That was probably the first like I remember just being like in the middle. I was just like I was kind of constantly 60th out of 140 people,
yeah,
somewhere in the middle. I remember being like, oh, this is like a lot of these people are really freaking good.
yeah.
That
Karting's
was
a
a big
little,
Dunning-Kruger moment.
yeah.
Obviously, that first nationals was a big
Yep.
Dunning-Kruger moment. There's been plenty of them.
Karting's a little different in Europe. It's like a different flavor
Yeah.
over there.
And the Brazilians, oh my god, the Brazilians were so fast, and they had come to Germany, like, they were holding the people from the local go-kart track in Germany accountable, whatever you wanna call it. They were,
Y-
like, holding a candle to him, having, like, come across from a different country.
Yeah, yeah,
Then I'm
yeah.
like, back in 60th,
Oh
whatever
man,
overall.
dude, I wish I was a karting kid. I would have if the lizard would have got started
It would
as
be
like a
so different.
child.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, dang. Cause like it took me it took me to like 25 to find my thing. But if I found it at like 6, oh my good. I would have had a 20-year
Yeah.
head start. Are you kidding me?
You know, though, I had an interesting conversation with you if you've ever heard of, Matt and Mark Pombo. The Pombo family is like a big motorsports family. Their dad was a factory driver for Nissan, and they've raced minis and all sorts of stuff in IMSA. Anyway, they were on my team in 2019. So this is like way after I'd gotten into the world of motorsports. And I was talking to them about this, and they were like, we're grateful actually that we didn't get to do motorsports as kids as much because our dad was a pro driver. We ended up having to do more traditional sports because my dad was racing, not us.
Yeah.
And instead of us getting burned out on racing as a kid, we got burned out on playing soccer like a normal kid as a kid. And now as adults, we ended up living life normally. We make money now as doctors.
Mm.
Basically, they're both doctors, I think. And now we race. Like we kept that passion into adulthood rather than getting it out of our system as a kid, which I'd never thought about before. Because how many hobbies do kids have until they're 14, 15, 16?
And then
I
they
had like
fall off.
multiple and then they fall off, you know?
Yeah.
That
Oh,
can happen to kids if you put them in motorsports too early too.
yeah, I'm curious. I mean, I don't know how we would find the karting kid that fell off of motorsports that's now an adult that's not in motorsports, but that also listens to this podcast. I feel
Yeah.
like that Venn diagram doesn't exist. But I would be curious to have that conversation with them and go like, or maybe there's some like parents where their kids like fell off of it, like they were super into carts and then, but like I'd be curious to have that conversation and be like, why not come back? Like, what about it makes you not want to do it? And maybe it won't be a very interesting conversation. Maybe like, I don't want to, but like, I'm I'm curious because it's hard for me from where I'm sitting to not like for to understand why not everyone thinks this is the coolest thing that has ever existed. But like, I understand that those people are out there like that exists. But like,
Yep.
I'm curious, like, especially if you were introduced to it at a young age, like why did that happen? What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second part, I know we've been going long, but sorry to answer the second part of this question. Hardest lesson you learned in motorsports career? I can't honestly. I talked to Hayward Wagner about this actually. We've had a really cool like personal and professional relationship through this entire timeline, and I feel like he's maybe seen the most of it from the most angles the entire time. Anyway, so we were talking about this, and I kind of feel like I got like a decade of yeses. You know, like 2000, count it 2010 or 9 to 2020, like I, the barriers weren't that high for most of it. And yes, I had to sacrifice a ton financially, and yes, I had to like live a certain lifestyle, but for the most part I got super fortunate with the situation and circumstances for like a decade. And the
Yeah.
first like major hurdle was COVID when I got dropped by Honda and had this thing going, and then I was like, I have no backup plan. I genuinely had zero backup plan because that was so unforeseeable that I didn't even feel Honda getting weird or anything. It was like it was like good, 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 bet, greater, great, great, bet, better, 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 best, 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 done.
Yeah.
So I had anyway, so that was the first, but anyway, so the hardest part, maybe the first thing that comes to mind towards the end of that decade, 2018, when I got paired with real time. Honda wanted real time to maintain and transport the car. Um, I thought I was going to be a real time driver, which was like the coolest thing ever. I was like a racing fan. I knew real time from World Challenge 15 years earlier, and Peter Cunningham and like all these cool like pros had been real time drivers. I ordered my suit with real time logos on it. We had designed the livery at the time. I was starting to work with Grid Life, and they had helped me design the livery, and they were sponsoring the car in a little way, and it had real time all over it. And I get a call from Peter Cunningham like 2 weeks before the first race of 2018, and he was like, I just want to let you know, like you are not a real-time driver. Like you are not affiliated with us other than we are your transport. And um I just want to make sure that it's clear.
Hmm.
And I found I like that hurt a lot. It was like I thought there was this big thing building.
Yeah.
And then like the guy whose thing it is called me to say like, you're not a part of this thing.
No.
And the only part of it I got to keep was the suit that was already ordered that still said real time on it. So, and then I was under the tent for the year. And the coolest part was Andy Hollis and Renee Hines were still my crew, and they like earned their keep in a way by the end of the year, even by the end of the first weekend. They like respected us, and we were like part of the thing after
Yeah.
that. But I was not entered in real time racing. I was entered as Tomo Racing. The car
Yeah.
didn't have the logo. Like all that whole experience was like, oh, this is business.
Yeah.
This is business. This is business.
'Cause it
And
was-
I've got to like plan for this and
Yeah.
be a little more clear. And I'm not just like taken care of and coddled. You know, like I gotta make
Like
this is different.
that
Yeah.
was their brand, and you weren't part of it. Like you
Yeah.
weren't explicitly invited to be part of the brand. So yeah. Interesting.
That was a hard
uh,
moment. That's not that big of a deal though. Like I said, it's still in my decade of yeses. So
Yeah, I gotcha.
I got over it.
We have one question that maybe we answer today, even though it's not part of the Tom O'Gorman origin story. You down for that?
Yeah, I'm down. Thanks
Um,
everybody for listening. It's fun to tell your origins.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear
Thanks
yours
for
next
telling
week.
us, Tom. Mine will be about 20 minutes long. And
But you got to talk as long as I did about autocross for about Halo at least.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could talk probably for about 10 minutes about Halo. So, anyways, Nick M writes in, when did you realize the podcast turned more into a community of racers rather than just another podcast? My friend and I have a similar podcast format with a slightly different demographic, and we are looking to grow a community of weekend warrior wrench turners. We're a year in and would love to hear a seasoned veteran's perspective. Calling us seasoned veterans feels weird, but thank you.
Hey, we've been in the top 100 automotive podcasts once for a week.
And we've been a podcast for 213 weeks now. Oh, did we ever start the stage? Did you start the stage?
I did.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks, Tom. We're like an hour and a half in, and I'm like, oh, we didn't do the crucial part of it. Anyways, I think when Tom and I started the podcast, we were just kind of like, we just needed to start it. And I think it was only like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 episodes in where I wanted to get the Discord going with the intention of there being a community. And I mean, at first the Discord was very, like we would have to carry the conversation. It was just like a way for people to come talk to us basically. And at this point, I can't even keep up with the conversation in the Discord. I feel like I need like a separate DJ channel just so like I can I can keep up with it because I have no idea what's going on in Discord most of the time. But yeah, it's a bunch of people talking and you know it took years to get to that point. And so yeah, you just kind of have to carry it for a little bit. Which it didn't feel like a carry. It just felt like people are excited about the thing that we're excited about, which is cool. And yeah, you just kind of keep putting bricks down and eventually you end up with a community shaped like a house or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think our experience and results, performance, ability, I'm not sure what speaks for itself in a way. But then also like having it intentionally be a community where people can talk. That was such a good idea. I hadn't thought of that until we started it and we started it. So more of a community of racers than another podcast. Yeah, I hope it's that people trust what we talk about, we're honest about what we talk about, and then people are willing to share their own experiences. And for the most part, I mean, we have a really cool spectrum of people who from like the most basic autocross communities to like pro racers and club racers and time trialers from all different orgs and everything. Like I'm trying to think of if we did anything strategic other than like try to be ourselves and talk about what we were doing. And I think if anything, the magic sauce is like I have a depth of experience that's pretty unique and wide in motorsports, and you have like a go-getter attitude that's pretty unique in motorsports. Even that would be unique anywhere, and it just works.
Yeah, just works.
So just be yourself.
Yeah,
be honest. Keep doing your thing. Keep doing events. Talk about it, and be yourself.
Yep, I agree. So, all right, you got anything else to add on the episode, Tom?
I do not. Thanks for listening.
Okay, I'm gonna hit the button. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this week, and thanks, Tom, for sharing your origins.
Aw. I'm gonna make this one for myself, I think.
I agree.
That kid that started in 2007. I love his hair, and I hope he wins.